immemorial, artists have been expressing the world through their works. Sometimes lampooned, sometimes appreciated, but this canvas of expressions has fed our emotions and hit our existence always. Art has always been recognized as essential to human culture, human psyche, and human existence itself. From Art Basel in Switzerland, the Fraise Art Fair, London, the FIAC Art Fair in Paris, La Biennale di Venezia in Venice, Art Basel in Miami Beach, Florida, the TFAF Maastricht in Netherlands, the Armory Show in New York, Art Dubai, and the India Art Fair New Delhi, which is now one of the most important art festivals in the South Asian region. Formerly known as the India Art Summit, the India Art Fair has managed to bring together the best of art from across the globe year after year, creating the perfect platform for each member of the art fraternity.
You know, India is so rich in art history, and we've had 5,000 years of art and culture as part of the historical journey of this country. But the contemporary art culture is very new, and the biggest challenge in India is that mainstream society has been slightly isolated from contemporary art. So the idea of the art fair was to build access and build education around the art, given the fact that we're a young market, and what is required at this stage is really to build community interest around art.
The role of such a platform multiplies many-fold given the art environment in India and how the art fraternity is gearing up to put its best foot forward to the world. We catch up with some of the most respected artists and gallery owners from across the country to find out more about the art of the matter. A play of light on colours, of video on paintings. As contemporary as it sounds, Ranbir Kalekar first experimented with this medium back in the late 90s.
Painting has always interested me, and anything made with hand, and I think that will continue to stay with all other forms as well, because there's something which is molded with the hands, is very humanized at one level, so that continues to interest me. And it's not as if painting is dead, it continues to live. And my other interest has been cinema. So I wondered if I could combine this, the aura of a presence of the image made of light and the physicalness of an object, and combine them, and also play with the notion of time, which is different in both the mediums.
Acceptance of contemporary art, Kalekar is all geared up to give us a visual treat at the India Art Fair this year.
Well, I'll be sharing something which I've been doing for this over a decade. Then I'll also be sharing a painting which I've not shown for a very long time. So there's a large painting I'm working on, so I'll be showing that too, which I'm very, very pleased about. And there is something else too. I'm also interested in combining photography and painting, where they're constructed images, like they may be staged events put together, and then I print them on canvas, then I paint over the canvas, and those are. And there too, I play with how light behaves differently on those archival inks.
An artist whose truth lies in being experimental, whose heart and art is in creating something new with every piece of work. An artist who tries to use different means, methods and material in every artwork is Sudarshan Shetty.
Best what I try to do is I appropriate different ways of making things. For example, I kind of make things in different cities now. For example, in the show Love, we used a brailer, and that happened because I happened to go into the blind school in Ahmedabad once, and I saw this blind man typing with brailer, which becomes a part of my work. And there are many instances where I keep looking for things. We also used respirator, and I also used many other things, and I work with people who work with steel, people who carve in wood. In this case, this is a studio where I work with wood a lot, and these carvers are first generation carvers who I found were catering to at one time to fake antique furniture market in Bombay. So it only seemed appropriate that I use them in my work. Because I also take a position of making something look old, but it's not necessarily old. So playing with those notions about what is real and what is not.
As Sudarshan Shetty gives the final touches to this work of art, we find out what we can look forward to from the artist at the India Art Fair 2013.
My galleries that represent me, two of the galleries happen to be in this India Art Fair, and I have 4 works that is being shown, and they come from various different sources and various different times of my practice as an artist. So I mean, the work that you see behind this is also going there, which is a cenotaph, a death monument that the design is derived from there. And I've been working for last 2 years with the idea of death rituals, and I'm creating a theater out of these rituals, and maybe arrive at a position where the meaningfulness and the meaninglessness of the object both coexist at the same point of your experience of it.
On the other side of the break, we catch up with some art gallery owners to find out more about the growing acceptance and apprehensions of their visitors towards the evolving world of art. With some well-established artists and many upcoming ones, an art gallery as a space to interact and understand works of art and their creators is of immense importance. And as the country gears up for its annual art fair yet again, we reach out to some of the gallery owners across the country to find out what's clicking with their visitors and where the art fraternity is headed.
My father, Arun Vadera, started the gallery in around 1987-88. And of course, times were very different. In some sense, they were a lot more romantic at that time because there was no market as such. So there was a lot of sitting around, discussing, intellectualizing, the art, the whole art scene. That doesn't happen so much anymore. Now it's so much more fast-paced. Even the kind of art that is being shown has completely changed. At that time it was more traditional, more classical, and now of course it is, there is a lot of painting being shown, but art in general has become far more conceptual than it was earlier.
Growing art forms and their acceptance across the nation over the years has witnessed a shift in the approach of art buyers as well.
Art, there's a sort of recycling of artists is also not, and there's a generation shift. In the same way, there's a generation shift of collectors, and young collectors are looking at art that is not necessarily painting or sculpture. That is, there is a sort of dialogue with other mediums. So, video seems to be a very sort of sought after medium. So it's it's not new. It's an easy medium to show. So a lot of young collectors look out for video art.
Even though the acceptance is increasing, art gallery owners like Abhay Mashkura feel there's still a long way to go before our buying habits are guided by actual works of art over established names.
Sadly, I would say yes. People are still looking at buying signature works. They find a kind of a confidence and comfort in names that are familiar. But people are unfortunately not willing to take a risk in the new, and are still kind of waiting and watching for the market to first kind of validate the artist and validate the art. And oftentimes that happens through a kind of a Western prism. So first the art gets validated in the West, through curated shows, through art fairs, through biennales, etc., before we are able to fully understand and absorb them. So yeah, it is a bit more conservative than we would like it to be, but I think that's changing too.
Moving on from trends in art acceptance and art buying to art as an investment, we find out more about the art of the matter.
Art has always been an investment, especially when large sums of money are paid for art. It's always at the back of the mind of what the investment in that is, because it's not just that, of course it's pleasure and of course it's passion, but at the end of the day that has to translate into something. Contemporary art at the moment is going through its biggest challenge. It's sort of having to hold itself up. This lull period is also providing a time for artists to sit back, to think, to create work that is, challenging to not just to be able to sow tastes, but also to perceive things differently from boom time.
It is an investment, but not necessarily in kind of monetary terms, and I think that's what artists are trying to do. They're grappling with big issues and kind of leaving the viewer, leaving the collector or the buyer, with unique works that will hopefully play a special role in their own lives. And that's really the biggest value of art.
Having caught up with gallery owners and people who support and stimulate the art industry in the country, we find out what's getting the artists going.
So recently I was making one piece, like it's called like the detail of an artwork. So it's like title is untitled, artist is unknown, and the year of execution is like any time, but medium is life. So there I was explaining on the end like what is it mean to be unknown, how it's like unmapped, undesired, uncursed. I still believe that what guides the people like collectors is their heart and their nerve. I want to believe that, but at the same time there is a paradox. There is the other side of the story. But most of the collectors I meet are people who are passionate about art.
I've shown after 5 years, and you can see today, yes, never underestimate your audience. I think the Indian audience is very sophisticated. They understand art, they've looked at culture, they've understood abstraction for hundreds and thousands of centuries. I just think it's a question, it's not about whether Indian audience are welcoming you, it's about whether you're creating platforms for them to access your work. And in India right now, we need to open up so many more places and avenues for people to look at art. We need to rejuvenate our museums. We need to look at our national galleries of modern art. We need to open spaces for people to look at art.
Yeah, I think people are happy to look at art, and whether it's sculpture or photography or video or installation, I don't think that's the point anymore. I think things have really moved on.
A lot of international people are coming in, and a lot of international galleries are still coming up, because India has a great font of talent, and we're going to see Indian artists continue to move into the international mainstream.
Having come this far in the art world, India still has a long way to go before we can enjoy our well-deserved place in art. On the other side of the break, we find out what platforms like the India Art Fair do for the country and what we can look forward to this year. spite of growing interest in the various forms of art, there is a need for spaces to inculcate, educate and nurture the art industry and provide platforms for both well-established as well as upcoming artists and their appreciators.
We've invited international and Indian artists to work on the medium of sound. I think what is missing is really the infrastructure to be supportive. So good not-for-profit spaces, good colleges which are really pushing you to think creatively and provide many more environments for that.
We've tried hard. It's still very small. The audience is still very small in comparison to what it would be anywhere else in the world. But I think it is also because art and culture is not viewed as a hip and happening thing. So till we don't make that into a very sort of now thing, it's going to take a little time.
With the critical role that the India Art Fair plays for the art fraternity very evident, we asked the Art Fair space designer, Suman Krishnan, to share with us the kind of space that he's creating for the fair this year.
We've had to be innovative, so picked up on paper. It's ecological, and then we're still working with the thematic and the inspiration of nature. But I think a lot of art is inspired by nature. I think nothing is as perfect as nature. So the way it's going to look is a lot about the forest and some of the colors used this year for their signage, their logos. It's all to do with aqua colors, so that works well. So it's the forest, it's the seas, so without being too esoteric or too intellectual or too conceptual, still to create something beautiful, so that when you walk in, you rest, relax and absorb.
The India Art Fair this year is all set to treat you with a mind-boggling number of national as well as international artists, art galleries, art museums, an exhaustive list of speakers from across the globe and interesting curator walks.
It's a great way to begin your journey with art. It's a great way to build on it. And of course, for established collectors, they will have the widest showcase of top names from anywhere in the world and also across India. We have a huge speakers forum, which is our seminar program. It's a 3-day lineup of top names from around the world who are talking about curation, about museum building, big artists who are sharing details about how they go about their art practice and so on. So it's a very stimulating 3-day program. I wouldn't miss it for the world, because these opportunities are rare in India.
For India, where we don't have enough museums and enough platforms to see, lot of artworks are together, also like lot of art from outside India, and I think it's a fantastic, like a platform for all of us.
It brings the entire art community together, not only the Indian, but the South Asian and the international. And when people get together, there's generally a sense of community, there's a sense we must do more things, and I think there's a process of celebrating that we exist despite all odds.
Peter Berg doesn't have a booth, but he was there at the last art fair as well. He does something very interesting. He wears an overcoat, and he has small artworks which are hidden on the inside of they're lined on the inside of the coat, his overcoat, and some he has hidden under his hat. So he walks around like a bootlegger, showing the inside of his coat, and says, sells his artworks. So that's very interesting.
The art fair is extremely important for a gallery in general, because the gallery space, is always considered a bit intimidating for a layperson. A lot of people feel that they can't enter a gallery unless they're coming to purchase purchase art. So there is a little bit of hesitation which goes away completely in an art fair.
The art fairs have a very, very definitive role to play, and that's to do with the market part of art. And it's, having said that, I also think that it's a very important aspect for the whole industry to kind of perform itself in the right manner.
Art fairs are not only about what happens in terms of the market, it's about all the subsidiary events that happen around, the artist talks, the lectures, the exhibitions that happen, something like the prizes that are happening now. And it's actually just a way to create a scene and a moment that it's like a confluence. It's like it's an intense moment of 4 days that people say, look, come and see. There's a lot happening in India.
So the India Art Fair 2013 promises to unveil the majestic world of art and woo the creative person in you.